Hi, good afternoon. This is Jody Patterson, Client Care Manager with Oasis Solutions. Thank you for joining our webinar today that is going to be presented by BizNet Software. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. To introduce ourselves again, this is Jody Patterson, Client Care Manager with Oasis Solutions. Wanted to tell you a little bit more about Oasis, since some of the people attending today are current customers. Some of them are hopefully future customers, and some I don't recognize at all. So just to let you know a little bit about Oasis. We are celebrating 28 years in business. We were founded in 1991 by Annette Manius, and we have recently been named Incredible Awards here in Louisville, Kentucky, as well as named to Bob Scott's Top 100 Value-Added Resellers list for 2018, and also been named Best Places to Work here locally for a couple of years in a row now. We are comprised of we serve over 700 clients in 35 states, and we focus on people and processes because we firmly believe that who you buy from in the marketplace is more important than what you buy. Our staff is made up of former CPAs, MBAs, CFOs, controllers, and software developers, so we have a lot of boots on the ground. I myself come from an accounting background, have been with Oasis for 5 years now in the Client Care Manager position, so a lot of you may recognize my name and voice as someone who talks to you about when you need extended solutions for your Stage 100 software. The webinar today is going to be recorded, and we will make the recording available at the end of the presentation. We also will have a Q&A at the end of the presentation today. So please, as we go along, as questions pop up, please enter them into the questions area of the GoToMeeting session, and we will feed those out to the presenter at the end to answer all of your questions. So let's get started. Our presentation today is going to be performed by Cade Hoff, who is the National Value-Added Reseller Channel Manager for BizNet Software. I've had the pleasure of working with Cade for several years now as our direct account manager. So anytime customers needed Viz Insight software, I would go directly to Cade. He's worked up to the ranks and is now handling a lot bigger accounts than me. So, Cade, going to turn it over to you to start presentation.
Thank you. That was a very gracious introduction, and I have to say high accolades to Oasis as well. You've been a great partner to work with, and I've been excited along with you to see your accomplishments. As she said, I am Cade Hoff. I'm the National VAR Channel Manager here at BizNet, and essentially today our agenda is going to be this. We're going to go through a quick presentation, PowerPoint, and then we're going to go into a demo of our Viz Insight product. And then we're going to go into another presentation on top of that. That's just to give you an idea of a new product that we have coming down the pike. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Who is BizNet? Well, we're an award-winning company. We've been recognizing 5,000 K2 enterprises and tech titans, and we are global partners to a whole host of ERP systems. And basically, we've been around since 1996, so close but not quite as much as Oasis. But the reason we came about is that there's a data explosion going on, and every day it's getting bigger and more complex. So companies are using a lot of different tools to attack the problem: dashboards, data visualization, big data, and BI. Whereas we take a more complementary approach. We're built upon Excel, so we live inside the ribbon of Excel. And why would we choose that platform? Well, there's over 1 billion users worldwide of Excel. It's one of the most widely embraced business applications in over 75 different languages, and it has a ton of presentation layers built into it. And that is something that we will get into in the demo. And, basically what is Excel used for? Well, top line is decision making, followed very closely by consolidations and summarizations, which is something that's very, very, very near and dear to our customer base's hearts. And that goes all the way down to data entry back into ERP systems. So this is what I call the 30,000-foot view. It's the best practices, but the top line typically represents companies before they come on board with our product. They're spending a ton of time aggregating their data and distributing that data, but what they're not doing is spending enough time analyzing it. Well, our software turns that on its head. We shorten the amount of time that you spend aggregating and distributing data so that you can spend more time actually analyzing what that data means to you and your organization. So the product we're going to start with is Viz Insight. And what is it? Well, Excel reporting is difficult. You cannot go into the numbers, and sharing Excel reports takes a lot of time. What we did is we generated over 50 real-time system connectors that hook into our Viz Insight product to create live Excel reports within minutes that are interactive. And we push that out with an equally valuable tool called Viz Broadcast. And that not only allows you to send out hundreds of reports in a single click, it is an automation tool for your reports that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And we will be getting into that as well with the demo. So with that, we are going to jump into the demo, and I am going to have Paul here drive. Paul is our technical product specialist. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Cade, and it's a pleasure to speak with you all today about really getting into that presentation and or getting into those data-driven insights that you can get from Excel. And so let me just get everything set up here. All right. And so to start here, what we're going to do is we're going to go into just a basic spreadsheet here, and I apologize, just one more thing. So here you have a basic spreadsheet. It's a good, solid spreadsheet, but it takes a lot of time to update. And if you have somebody coming to you last minute, needing an update as soon as possible, well, the ETA of this report would most likely be a few hours because it takes that long to get the data, to aggregate it, and then to send it out to that person. But let's say if your boss put that kind of deadline on you, instead of an hour, if you had Viz Insight, it would actually just take a few minutes because all you would have to do, if they wanted December of 2016, all you would have to do is change the year here and then change the month. Let's go to December. And just like that, the numbers update. And you can send it off to your boss within a couple of minutes. And then they come back to you and say, well, how confident are you in these numbers? Because you got those to me pretty quickly. And you never get good numbers that are done quickly and accurately. So at that point, what you would say to your boss is, well, I'm 100% confident because these are pulling straight from my database, because this is hooked into the database. And so at that point, because your boss's expectations, he would come back asking for more. And let's say he asked for 3 months instead of 1. And so at that point, you just say no problem. You go to the beginning of your 3-month period, highlight the column, and just drag it over. And just like that, we have a 3-month report with a title that even matches. Let's say he actually asked for a 12-month report. Well, we can accommodate that as well. The same concept, go to the beginning of your 12-month period, highlight this final cell, and then just drag it over, 12 months instead of 3. Just like that, just within a couple minutes, we've gone from a 1 to a 3 to a 12-month report. Now we can do things like compare last year's numbers to this year's, or if we have a fiscal year that doesn't line up with a calendar year, let's say hypothetically it starts in July. for a fiscal year. We can accommodate that as well. And so just click on that in July, and just like that, we have a fiscal year report. And for a lot of reporting applications, this is difficult to do, combine 2 calendar years on the same report. But for Viz Insight, because of the way we access your data, it works seamlessly. Now let's go into another situation where you've made your boss happy by getting him the actual report, but then he comes back to you and then needs more details, because in revenue hardware, he notices that it spikes a lot in March 2016. So he wants the raw details to that spike. Well, all you have to say is, boss, you already have it, because all he has to do is right-click on the cell, go to Viz Insight drill down, and click on Table. And once he clicks on Table, it will then bring up all of the raw details that make up the total of that number. Now let's say your boss is more analytical and he likes pivot tables. Well, we can accommodate that as well. Again, right-click on the cell, go to Viz Insight drill down, and then click on Pivot Table instead of Table. And then once you do that, it will bring up a pivot table where your boss can happily manipulate it to the way he needs it and get all of the relevant information in there. Now that's great, but chances are if you're making reports for in different divisions, and they want a report that's specific to their part of the company and not the rest of the organization. And so here we have a very similar report to the last one, where I can update the year and I can update the month. But I also have a third parameter here for division. And so let's say the hardware manager comes to me asking for a report for his part of the company. Then all I have to do is go here, click on division, and just like that, the report is complete, and I can say, and even further than that, as with the last report, I can drill down, or the hardware manager can drill down to get further into the numbers. And so on this, I can do any division for each year and any year for each division. And so with just the years and the divisions here, I have 3 years worth of data, and I have 5 divisions. So just with the years and the divisions, I have up to 15 combinations that I'm keeping in the same tab. Before, I would have to expand that out to 15 separate tabs, but now I can keep that information all consolidated. And so while that's great, and those reports are very useful, those are also fairly basic reports. But given the way Viz Insight works in conjunction with Excel's functionality, you can create some really cool reports. Here I have a rolling 12-month report. And I can update the month and the year, and not only does the current period update, but so do the previous 11. Now you'll also notice this is a high-level report. So if somebody wants to get more into the details, I would have to create a new report, right? Actually, then you don't have to, because I've utilized Excel's data group function to create a roll-up. So I just click on the plus. If anybody wants to see where the revenue is coming from, they just click on that plus button, and they get all the transactional details here. Furthermore, they can drill down into any of these numbers here. Now, you'll also notice that there is a chart at the bottom of this report. And it moves whenever I change a parameter. And this is because when Viz Insight is installed on your machine, our functions are seen as native functions. They're not foreign data objects. So we can work with a lot of the presentation layer that Kate referenced earlier. So you'll see multiple examples of this throughout the presentation, but just keep in mind, if you have a visual person in your corporation that needs these charts for their reports, charts, and graphs, we can accommodate that very easily. So the next is an actual versus budget report. And I have it's very similar to the previous income statements here, but you'll notice as I click into the next period, my budget numbers are replaced with actuals. And even further than that, I have a little total section over here where I have my total budget and then my actual. Watch that while I change a parameter. It aggregates as I go throughout the year, and also you see a percent of goal right here. So now I can see where I am with respect to my budget at any point throughout the year. And as with any of these numbers before, I can drill down on these. Now let's go to our next report, and this is your more basic income statement. And this is it's a solid income statement, but it's very thorough. As you see, I have to scroll down quite a ways just to get to the bottom of it. And so we have so many of our customers telling us that it takes so long to redo their work, or at least it used to before Viz Insight, because they would have to work on this income statement every month, and it would take them hours, sometimes even full days, sometimes up to a full week, just depending on what's going on. But with Viz Insight, all you have to do is set it up once, and then just change a parameter, and just like that, you're done. And even furthermore, at the end, we'll show you Biz Broadcast, which will let you automate this process so that you can update the report and send it out without you even having to think about it. So with all the time that you're saving not redoing your work, and now actually all the time you have to analyze your data, you can now use your data to make better business decisions and find things out, such as who owes us money. And to answer that question, we have an aged receivables report. In this report, I have all of my customers on the left, their total outstanding invoices, and then it's broken out into every 30 days, and then also, I have the upcoming due invoices as well. So whenever I change a parameter, you'll notice not only do the numbers update, but then also I have this bar chart here to help me quickly identify the trend of each customer to see how well they're doing on paying back their invoices, and also how much business we have coming up with them. But this isn't the only question you can answer. You can also answer the question, okay, who is making us money? So here I have a customer analysis report with I can change the years and it will update. Then on top of that, change the months, but I have an additional parameter here for territory as well. So I can change the territory and the report updates. Now you'll notice this is a very colorful report. And as I mentioned in the previous report, we worked flawlessly with a lot of the Excel presentation layer. But the purpose of this is so that you can see, no matter what parameter you set, you can quickly see who your top customers are. It's by default currently set to the top 5 customers. And I'm sure you also noticed that as I change parameters, it would change sizes. And that's because hidden in this report, I have a little filter that says, hey, hide any cells that any rows that don't have data for them. So now, on top of being able to shift through this report, I'm able to only see the relevant customers for each set of parameters. So at this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Paul, those are great reports, but how do I make them? Well, let me show you. with these reports and with all of our connectors, you will have some built-in functions here. And built-in functions, built-in tables. And so all you need to do with those is drag them out and then fill in the parameters. So for this specific report, we have 3 filters that we need. We need fiscal year, and we will select our year over here. Then we have fiscal period. And for fiscal period, I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to select this one for our fiscal period and also anchor it to the row. If you don't know why, I'll show you here in a second. And then lastly, segment 1, because I have my segment 1 numbers here. And again, I'm going to anchor this, but instead of to the row, to the column. That's OK. And now that I have my function set up, press OK. And I'm just going to stick it in that top left corner. And just like that, I have a cell with dynamic data instead of static data. And so now what I get, the question I get a lot of times is, well, Paul, that's great and pretty easy, but do I have to do that for every cell? Well, technically, yes, you do, but this is where it comes in handy that I anchor to this row and to this column, because all I have to do is copy and paste this function down, copy it down here, and then go ahead and make the entire column dynamic. And then now that this entire column is dynamic, I can select the column and just drag it over. And just like that, the entire report is now dynamic data. Now, even with me explaining that to you, it only took a few minutes. Now, as I said before, we work seamlessly with a lot of charts and graphs. And a lot of people spend quite a bit of money buying expensive dashboarding applications. But did you know that Excel itself has over 200 charts and graphs of its own? So I could insert a chart here, just stick that here at the bottom, and then whenever I change a parameter, the chart updates with my data. I could take this a step further, cover up this data, select my gross profit, and insert another chart. And then do the same thing here. Just cover up the data real quick. And just like this, the report updates. Both reports update. So what have I built? I built a very basic but extremely effective dashboard. And with all the time that you'll be saving with Viz Insight, you can even build something like this guy. And here is a dashboard built only with Excel charts and graphs that updates whenever I change any of the parameters. And if I had shown you this chart at the beginning, or this dashboard at the beginning, you probably would have thought, there's no way I could have done that. But now I bet you're thinking, I could figure that out. I could impress my boss, maybe even ask for a raise with it. And so, with that, that is the essence of Viz Insight. But to get the reports out, we also built another tool called Viz Broadcast. And what Viz Broadcast is built off of is this distribution template right here. And what you do is you insert this into any spreadsheet. It can work with other spreadsheets other than ours. It doesn't have to be ours, but it was built to work with ours, so that'd be ideal. And so then once you have this template in this broadcast template in your workbook, you then just fill it out. So you can say, okay, render format. What kind of file do I want to send? Do I want to send the PDF, Excel values only? We even have CSV, HTML, then Pack and Go, which is a special compression format that we have. And then you tell it where you want to send it. So do I want to send it to a file, to a shared drive? Okay. Or do I want to email it to somebody? Then you select which ones you want to send. And there's a lot of functionality with this, such as you can hide or password protect or both. You can preserve the Excel functions and get rid of the Viz Insight functions. So all sorts of things right there. Press OK, you have it. You name the file. You can even enter in optional parameters and then do things like merge files over here. There's a lot that we can get into with that. But for now, I'll show you probably the coolest part. With everything set up, you can either click Run Now, or if it's a regular report, you set a schedule. And this scheduler can run as frequently as every hour, and up to day, week, month, or just one specific time, and you need to update the data. So that is all I have for today, so I will give it back to Kay.
Thank you very much, Paul. I appreciate that. And we're going to jump into just a real quick, I just want to run through this information real quick. We're very, very excited to announce a new product to the market called Kickstart. And Kickstart is the brainchild of the CEO of our company. And basically, he had theorized some things, and then, of course, he's a CPA, and he started this company based off of, the fact that there wasn't enough functionality in spreadsheets when he originally started the company, so he started building code, and he's always raised the bar. Now he's raised the bar to a point that not even Microsoft could figure out about their own product. So I just want to go through this real quick and then give you a quick verbal explanation. So we're going to start with business intelligence. What is it? It's a technology-driven process for analyzing data and presenting actionable information to help executives, managers, and other corporate end users make informed business decisions. And what you need to know about BI is that it reduces cost. Now, with Viz Insight, we've been going through more business analytics, and now we're kind of merging the world of business analytics and BI. It improves efficiency and productivity. It supports decision-making. It improves sales, and it reveals opportunities that you might not otherwise see. Now, Sun Tzu was noted to have said, strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory, but tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. So in our world, we're kind of trying to bring this to you. Do you recognize this vicious cycle? Reporting solutions are complicated. You still need the data that's behind charts. You have no central access to data. Well, here's a prime example. The person who builds the reports or the analyst, they spend a majority of their time building reports. They have people coming back and forth to them continuously asking for ad hoc reports, and that chews up a bunch of their time. And so they really can't spend any time analyzing data. And then you have the consumer of the reports, the executive, for example, that gets a report but can't modify it. And if they're using some of the bigger tools in the BI space, ClickDomo, Tableau, things of that nature, they still can't export to Excel, which is where most people want to take their data because that's the environment that they're used to. And there's just not enough dashboards. So basically, we take this from a vicious cycle to informed business decisions with BizNet 3D solutions. And 3D is basically data-driven decisions. Now, people in inventory, accounting, sales, and marketing, they can adopt an easy-to-use system and they can answer their own questions. So from the user perspective, this is far more fruitful. Those that are generating reports can actually, spend less time doing this because they now have the capability and luxury of time to actually analyze what it is, that the data is telling them so that the company can make better decisions, because the team can do their own reporting. Whereas the executive level people like Jane have real-time access to data. And this is where I'll kind of explain that in just a minute, but this is where it gets very crucial, and that gives people the ability to make intelligent business decisions. So this is what it comes down to. There's the three keys to enable BizNet 3D. One is a single source of truth. One of the biggest issues that companies have is when they're looking for data and they're trying to figure out what's going on within an organization. You have different people working on different, spreadsheets and different systems, and nobody's really bringing a centralized piece to where everybody's looking at the same data, and that's what this product is about. It also is anywhere, anytime access. So you're not necessarily beholden anymore to those that generate reports as a consumer. And the data is actually usable. It's more usable and functional because you have the ability to change reports into what you want after you receive them. So it's essentially 4 business tools in one. It answers all the questions. Present, what's happening? What is the issue of concern? Next, what happened? How did we get into this situation? Why did it happen? And then, being able to look into the future at what might happen. So essentially, this product is kind of like taking all of these different types of tools and consolidating them into one piece. So it doesn't matter whether your data is on-premise or in the cloud or both. Our product is completely designed on a Microsoft backbone. That is the full structure. And what we have done is we've managed to create a tool that leverages Microsoft to take your data source and pull that data into the cloud where it's warehoused and refreshed, so that when it goes down to the actual users and they receive their reports inside of Kickstart, once they have that one report, there's no need to worry about sending out reports to them again and again. At will, they can open these reports, click on them, and hit the refresh button, and it's going to go out and pull the freshest data into that report. So you have a more real-time understanding of what's going on with your data from a user perspective. So you have the refreshability and the portability and interactivity with this particular product. And the interactivity is the greatest thing, because not only from an Excel perspective, but from a dashboard perspective, you will have the capability of drilling down into data. And all of that data, again, is accessible anytime, anywhere, and it's all coming from one single source. So no longer do you have the conflicts of different various data coming from various people and outdated spreadsheets and outdated information, because everybody's gleaning all their information from the exact same spot. Also, it leverages your existing Excel workbooks and knowledge. So all the reports that you currently have inside of Excel can be retrofit into the new product. It is going to be, not at this point, but it is going to be multi-platform and multi-device. It is something we are working on, so that we can give stronger accessibility to everybody. And it doesn't matter, from a scalability perspective, how many users it is. Essentially it scales from one person into thousands. It just depends on how your organization operates and how large it is. So, oops, I went a little too far. Okay, apparently I'm faster than the PowerPoint. So essentially, to put all this together, we're giving you the ability to connect, analyze, and share. Connect all your data with simple drag and drops, analyze information faster and easier, and share with anyone at any time. And that generates enhanced cloud reporting, which is kind of what we're coining this as. It is big data enabled, it is scalable, as I said, and speed and simplicity. To give you an idea, I have seen this particular product run a report on over 1 million records in about 30 seconds and populate the data. So it is exceedingly fast. And that's the end of that. As far as this is concerned, and this was a big point of contingency for me, so I went to bat because my partners, like Oasis, mean a lot to me. And they're in a space where there's a great deal of Sage 100 users. So we are at a point where we are rolling out the connector. It's going to be one of the first connectors. There's a few of them that have already been developed ahead of it, but based off of a lot of kicking and screaming, we've reached a point where we are now wanting early adopters to come on board with the product. And this is not something we do haphazardly. We've been in business for quite some time, and this is a new evolution of our product. And we really have grown our business on the basis of people, being adventurous and trying the product and being able to help sculpt the product. So with that, I'm going to conclude the presentation portion, and we're going to open it up for any Q&A that there is.
Hi, Cade. Thank you very much for that presentation. We are getting in quite a few questions, but they're mostly of the how do I learn more about this and how can I get it type. So I think we're going to handle those individually offline. So anybody who wants more information on that, please be sure to chat in your question now, or you can email me directly at jody@oasisky.com. That's JODY@oasisky.com. And I don't see any other general questions about the presentation today. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up and give you a few minutes of your day back. Thank you very much, Cade.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for attending.